Good evening to all our viewers of Plus TV, those in Trinidad and Tobago, the wider Caribbean, and all those internationally. Welcome to another episode of Sunset. I am Randolph Bhoodoo, and this evening here with me, we have Jevon Joseph and Carla Williams Johnson.
Good afternoon.
And before I ask you all how you all are doing, because I know you all are tired, I have this for you. When you're tired, it's a sign that you're almost at the end of your fight. And that's by TD Jakes. I'll say that again. When you're tired, it's a sign that you're almost at the end of your fight. So that, and that's for everybody out there as well, that goal that you're aiming towards, that you're working towards, it's close. It's coming. So even though you're tired, hold on. You're almost to the end of your fight.
Good.
So Carla, how about you this afternoon?
Well, apparently I'm almost to the end of my course. Thank you so much for those kind words. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Jevon, how are you?
I'm blessed. Was it Trinity highly flavored and blessed?
you are high.
I'm good. I honestly can't complain. And even if I do, there's really not much I can complain to. I take it to the Lord in prayer.
Lovely. I like to hear that. Yeah. What's the hot topic for today, Carla? What are we starting off with?
Well, so I was doing some reading over the weekend, and what I realized and what I found out is that Americans, there's a study that was done in America that says millennials actually are obsessed with financial freedom and financial success.
Right.
And for that reason, they fall victim and they fall prey to online scammers. Whether it's romance scams, Ponzi schemes, regardless, they fall victim. And we realize that that is now merging into the Caribbean territory, in Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean. And I want us to start to talk about that because people are losing their life savings and they're losing their minds by extension, because you work hard. You work hard for your money to just hand it over to someone who has promised you financial freedom, promised you a life better than you have right now. How can we help people not fall victim to online scammers? What are some of the things that we can look out for, right, that people can be mindful of so they don't fall victim?
Well, Carla, I would like to ask you a question. You said the millennials.
Yes, like
right?
myself.
Like yourself.
Is it that they fall victim, or is it that they are just lazy?
Oh. You see, even before we attempt that, I want to ask if it's really only millennials, or are they in the spotlight because we have this access to a wider range of things to do online? Because
I want to believe it's that. I believe it's because millennials, we were very fortunate to be alive with the invention and advancement of technology. There are a lot of boomers that are falling victim. They typically fall victim to the romance scammers, right?
Okay.
But I think millennials are in the spotlight because millennials work hard, and there's always this thing about inflation and the economy. So we can't buy a house, we can't do this, we can't do that. So there's this obsession with wealth and having the things that seem out of reach. So we're always looking for this get rich quick ideas, this microwavable results, and as such we don't do our due diligence. Going back to your point, we don't do our due diligence sometimes, and hence the reason we fall victim so easily.
Maybe it could also be inherited, Jevon. Think about it, because you have, as a millennial, you have a situation where you saw your parents, your aunts, your uncles accomplish certain things by a certain age.
Right.
I have an uncle who had a house at 16. And it wasn't a big thing back then. People did it. His brothers did it shortly after my father did it. And now, coming from that, seeing that they were able, and they boast. You know how that other generation talks.
Yes.
At your age, I was doing this and I was doing that. So can some of it, in addition to, yes, complacency and laziness, can part of it be inherited because of expectations of what you saw those who came before you do?
Well, I would like to say it still also boils down to being lazy, because what you are speaking about is generational heritage, because you had your grandfather work for something and he built something, and then your father inherited and he built something, he passed it on to you. Now it's your duty to work on it, build it and hand it off. But then now we're in an age where we've been flooded with social media.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Been flooded with information, whether it be good or bad, and then you have parents now who not educating their children on the proper way of doing certain things, right? So then again, and I'll go back to social media. I have social media using kids. And what it teaches you, what social media teaches you? Social media teaches you is that you can get something exactly instant gratification, and it goes back to what you were saying about instant wealth, right? And I think that is something that now it is an issue, because I'm sure we all had issues where we have gotten that phone call, we have gotten that message, right? But what made you abstain from being caught or catch? The words we like to use, catch. Why you didn't get catch? You know?
I would think it's common sense. In terms of I have experience in life. I've experienced in life either through what I actually went through, or vicariously through other people's and listening and learning from them. Because some things are really just too good to be true.
Right.
You cannot tell me that I am going to invest $5,000, $10,000 without any risk, and at the end of a month, 2 months, 3 months, you're going to give me 500% on that. And there is no risk. Come on, the banks don't do it. The bank gives you what, minus 0.000% interest per month. And then when it is you're getting 5% somewhere on your capital invested, you are outlined with documents about the risk of your investment. So understanding those things, it doesn't come that easily.
Right. But like I said, but the thing is, Ghana, this is exactly what these sites or these people actually telling you, that you can do that and still become rich.
Rich, of course.
That is exactly their selling point.
And I guess they're playing on what you just said, that need or that addiction to instant gratification.
Yes.
Because I can pick up my phone if I'm bored and automatically get entertainment. And if for a second this bothers me, I flick my finger and we're gone. Because they're attached now to that instant gratification, then the laziness comes on board. Now I'm lazy to go and do the work. Because why do I need to work 5 years to reach to this point? And this person is selling me the dream and playing on my emotions that, hey, you can get this 5 months from now.
I want to talk about the selling of the dream part, because, we're talking about social media here. But as a millennial, again, we grew up on MTV Cribs. We grew up on all of those music videos. And what were they showing us, right? Instant gratification, all the gold chains. A lavish lifestyle. Right, mansion and all of those things. So we were actually taught that these things are easy. Now, in your mind, you know it's not, right? But if someone is coming to you online and saying, hey, I can give you all of this, and you can have the life that you have been dreaming of from since you were a young person, I can see where the pull is going to come. Now, common sense will come into play, right? Somebody's not going to write to some random person and say X, Y, and Z has passed on and they have no next of kin. And if you send, common sense has to kind of play in there. I get that. And I get the laziness that you're talking about.
And I like how you said that when we grew up, now we were considered the millennials, right? When we grew up, we had the MTV Cribs. And I love how you brought that into play, the MTV Cribs. But in our mind, we know that it was not easy, because in our mind, we knew we had experience with hardship. We still had that getting up in the morning, seeing about the animals before you go to school, seeing your father and your mother struggling, or your father or your mother alone struggling to make ends meet. We had that. Now, the problem is, and that's why I brought you into parenting, there are a lot of us who came out of that and decided we're not going to let our children go through that. And we shelter them from that, but shelter them to what extent?
Agreed.
You know? And if you look at scamming, you would realize that a lot of these scamming or these Ponzi schemes, whatever they call it, it's really the younger people getting caught in it. It is rarely the older. And if you go older, you go into the extreme older who have no knowledge on social media.
Correct, because we have older persons who might see pop up on WhatsApp, and because they think, my niece or my grandchild, my great-grand
Yes.
set up WhatsApp. WhatsApp is safe in their mind.
Yes.
So it's a
Exactly.
perception of safety now. And something pops up. If it is you fill out this survey, you can win a trip to the Bahamas. And
And
they
then you
will
put
click on it.
all your
I'm sure
information.
everybody has experienced it. And then they click on it, they fill it out, and all of a sudden, everybody on the list is getting a broadcast message. Somebody is messaging you saying that they are one of their contacts and you need to do this and whatever else. There are those types of scams, and they target the older people, and it's easy. You just have to look at profile pictures. From the time you're seeing somebody older or those morning motivation pictures. Thank you, Lord, for life. We know that is popular with that age group.
Yes.
You know how to target them. I personally know somebody who went through that. She thought that she was going to win a trip, so she clicked on it. She, filled out the forms, and she messaged in a group I was with her in, and she's like, guys, I just filled it out, and I think I'm going to get a trip for so. Seconds later, the messages started piling.
Oh.
Broadcast after broadcast, and then somebody messaging saying they're one of our contacts to call them now. But let's get a quick in terms of the financial scams. Give me a 10 seconds in terms of what we could do to avoid that, Jevon. Besides common sense.
If it's too good, it's too true. If
Definitely.
it is a message you on Facebook, look at the profile, do your background check, stuff like that. Ask a question, right? A lot of us, I'm sure you have over 100 friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
Send the message, reach out. Do investigations. Don't just keep it to yourself, because that is where you fall victim. They actually prey on people who don't like to seek information.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and we're going to talk some more about these scams as we come back, because besides the financial online scams, there are a lot you mentioned, the romance and those other things.
Yes.
And guys, we're going to go into that as soon as we come back from this break. See you soon.
What are some of the fun ways you spend time with your family?
Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind.
Just wraps it up nicely with God, nothing is wasted.
When we let go of this obsession of who we think we are, that's when we can really embody unconditional love.
Buenos días and welcome to the Emily Mais Talk Show. My name is Emily Mais. Tell me a little bit about your life in Venezuela.
I am more Trini than any Trinidadian.
You can see the effort of the Trinitarian people to learn Spanish too. They try to tell me something and listen, hola, whatever. They try to communicate in Spanish and they feel proud when they get it, like, hey.
People have to try more to learn the language.
Tell me about the food. How was your experience with the food in Trinidad?
My name is Jesse Barrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moments.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why you pursue that in the first place.
There's this crazy story at the beginning of the Bible. We have Adam and Eve, and they're in the Garden of Eden.
And everything in this garden is great. It's exactly as it should be, except there's this one tree that they're told by God not to eat from because it's dangerous and it will kill them.
So that's it. Avoid this fruit tree and we're fine.
Right, it seems pretty simple. But in this garden, there's a snake, and it starts telling a different story. It says that if you eat of this tree, it's not going to kill you. In fact, it's going to make you become like God.
And Adam and Eve, they believe the snake and they eat the fruit.
And because of this, the goodness of the garden is tragically lost, and evil and death enters into God's good world.
Hey, this is Tim.
And this is John.
We think one of the best ways to understand the Bible is to trace the key themes from its beginning all the way through to the end.
We also make videos that walk through the literary structure of every book of the Bible and how it relates to the whole.
JoinTheBibleProject.com.
Welcome back to Sunset, the evening show. And this evening here, we're discussing online scams. And just to wrap up what we were talking about before in terms of online scam, guys, the Trinidad and Tobago Securities Commission gives a couple guidelines in terms of avoiding them. Right? Claims of high returns with little or no risk is a no-no, guys. Securities that are not registered with the commission. So if it is you're looking to invest in bonds, stocks, forex, and you're not seeing it registered anyway, again, that's a no-no. Complex investment strategies that you do not understand, that somebody tries to sell to you and it doesn't make sense. You can't see how point A leads you to the cash or the reward. It doesn't make sense. Right? Inability to get detailed information about the entity. You can't find a website. If you do get a website, the information is limited. And unsolicited investment offers, those Facebook friends who just pop up and promise magic, a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But we're moving on. So what other type of online scams are we discussing here this evening?
Oh, there are so many out there. And I know we talked a lot about the age of persons, millennials and the boomers and all of these types of things. But I also want to talk about the people who are mentally or emotionally susceptible to scams. So for example, online romance scams, right?
Yeah.
These are the types of people who are very lonely, right? They probably had a death recently, widow or widower, right? Their children are not around, so they're looking for companionship. And from that, you know, these online scammers, they take advantage.
Exactly.
All right, and they do their due diligence. Going back to what you said, Jevon, you have to do your due diligence, but these scammers, they do their due diligence, so they know who to target and what to say, right? And I feel like that's so very important, because even if you have the information, Randolph, as you just mentioned there, if you are emotional, right, you can fall victim very, very easily. Exactly. So how do we prevent those types of persons from falling victim?
Well, let's start with what laws are in place to protect our citizens here in Trinidad and Tobago against any of these types of online scams.
Well, little to none, I would say, because like for example, these type of people you're talking about, they play on emotions. They play on information that you put out there.
Right.
Right? There's nothing wrong.
So you would post essentially a funeral or a note about missing a loved one, and they're out there to snatch on that.
For example, Miss Carla posts that her husband has died, right? And then she posts pictures of her funeral, right? And then I decide to comfort her. And she decide to financially help me because I'm comforting her, and this is how it's going to play off in the court.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, because eventually, obviously, once that trust is built, they're going to ask you for some type of money.
Yeah.
Because something needs to be paid for, and if it is you love me, or you would weigh on, not if you love me, you'd weigh on that emotion and wean it so that you can get something out of the person. And this actually sometimes goes further than just monetary, you know.
Exactly.
There are cases where persons reach out to these people who are in need of love or in need of companionship, company, and they send a ticket for them.
Yes.
They tell them, listen, I am well off, come and I will. And when you travel, it's because they might be trafficking you or harvesting your organs.
Exactly.
So we have to put sensitization and laws in place. I'm sure the laws are there, because just reading from that SEC, the Securities Commission thing that we started off with, they have a complaints process. You can call, you can go, and you can fill out the online form. But before today, did we know that? If it is you get into a fraud with a wrong bond or an investment, did you know before today that you can do that? So sensitization has to be out there, as well as we have to be smart.
Exactly.
I think we have to be smart in terms of what we do and manage social media especially, because with social media, you're susceptible to the world.
Exactly.
And the world out there is not necessarily a trusted source. It's a source that has to be tried and proven true before you trust it.
Yeah. And to that is that people, you need to know that there's no get-rich scheme.
None.
They call them Ponzi scheme, triangle, pyramid scheme, stuff like that. It just don't work. There's nothing that could make you rich without putting in the effort, right? We all have skills. What I would advise you is that zone into your skills, advertise your skills, and that is the best way of making a legal form of income. These things don't work. Yes, you're going to hear a lot of people who say that it worked for them. They might be lucky. Go poor luck and see poor luck. All right? That's all I'm going to say to you.
In addition to that as well, they will show you accounts. And they will show you X amount of money in the accounts.
Yes.
And the truth about that is that is the cash from persons they have previously scammed.
Yes. Or sometimes it's not even real. Sometimes they create their own website and give you access. This person that you just met give you access, and you're seeing all these zeros in this account thinking that this person has money when they really don't. So you have to do your due diligence. If you've just met somebody online, why are they so dependent upon you to make their life? What were they doing with their lives before they met you 5 days ago? Right? What were they? How were they making out? Right? So you have to be mindful of. You can't allow your emotions and your feelings to cloud your better judgment. Right? And I feel like also you need to listen to people, as you mentioned just now. If somebody else, because sometimes when you're in it, you don't see it. But somebody on the outside will be like, this not singing. This not singing right, right? This person is just trying to help you. They're not jealous. They're not upset. They're trying to help you. So maybe listen to them. Maybe listen to their reasoning and you know, save yourself some heartache. If you've already sent money, well, you know, cut your losses. What I also find is that a lot of people, they keep sending money hoping
that it will just
turn around. But it never does.
It's not going to, no.
It's similar to people playing in LCB, right?
Oh, Lord. Right. But that is not a scam.
Well, it is.
It is not a scam.
It's supposed to be
I understand
right?
It's almost like an addiction.
It plays on the same part of your mind. I mean, at the end of the day, gambling, I mean, I worked for a period of time in a casino, right? And there's a reason a casino gives you free alcohol.
Yeah, to mess with your inhibitions.
And it plays with that same part of your brain that's excited when you have sex and stuff like that. Right. You know, the whole feeling of being satisfied, right? And that is what gambling does. So it's kind of like the same thing.
Okay. Well, yeah, but guys, we have to be vigilant with these things because it's as simple as car sales now. I know a couple of people, and this is simple. You know, this is not the get-rich-quick thing. It's like you can make a down payment, and I will organize this car for you at this price. So you're thinking that is just a good price. And then the person who takes that down payment for you, who suppose their company disappears. So to all my people working hard out there, this might sound bad. You're not lucky. That person who messages you, who calls you, who gives you the offer, you're not lucky. And why I say that is because sometimes we feel like we're lucky, and because I'm lucky and this is my one chance, I am not going to tell anyone.
Exactly.
So that's why I'm saying you're not lucky. Get advice. Reach out to somebody who has experience in the particular area. If it's too good, it is not true. If it's too good, it's not true. The way for you to get what you want, to have the life you want, is by the sweat of your brow. Apply your talents, like Jevon said. And as Carla said, talk to other people. And with that, guys, we want to wrap this topic, and we want to dive into a real huge one this afternoon. Equality and equity in the workplace. Is it truly equitable? And is it truly equal? So what is equality? Equality in the workplace means that equal job opportunities and fairness exist for employees and job applicants. Everybody is treated the same way under the existing culture of the workplace. It should be regardless of race, religion, gender, age, status. Discrimination biases are not existent in a perfect world, and this is the place, right? And Akala, you were mentioning some things about equity in terms of the difference from equality. Mention them again.
So as you mentioned, equality is making sure that everyone is treated the same.
Right.
Equity means that the right person is chosen for the right position and they're getting benefits based on that.
Right.
So it's not equal across the board. If you are an IT specialist, then you are being paid and treated differently from someone that, let's say, in finance, right? So they overlap, yes, but there is a bit of difference.
So a good example, if I understand what you're saying, is if I'm a welder and I'm just fabricating windows, as opposed to if I'm a welder and I'm doing deep sea diving welding, I should be more compensated as a deep sea diver.
Technically, yes, because you're equity for my job. Yes.
Specialized as well as the high risk part of it.
Yes.
So I'm going to start off with Jevon. Jevon, what's your take on equality and equity in the workplace?
Well, but I want to ask it a different way, right? So suppose I am a new employee,
right,
in a particular field based on an employee who have 10 years of experience,
right?
What am I supposed to weigh on, equality or equity? We have the same qualifications, but based on my years of experience, right? I know the job. I may know the job better,
Yeah, but do you know the job better in that company or in the industry?
Based on the company where I'm employed, I may know the job better based on my experience.
Yeah.
Right? So, and this is what I will ask, right? So in that question, right, we are both qualified, right? You might be qualified because you might be younger. So the courses you did might be improved course of what I did.
Right.
But based on the job that we are both signed up for, based on the job that we are doing, I am more experienced. So I would like to think that based on my experience, I am more adequate for the job, right? How do we, because that is something that face a lot of people in certain industries today.
I see what you're saying. It really has to be done on a case-by-case basis, because if you have more experience in a particular position, does not necessarily mean that you have more experience in that industry if the industry itself is constantly evolving. So if you're not keeping abreast as to what's going on, not continuing in terms of your education and all of those types of things, then you're basically running on knowledge and experience only. You're not running on improve technology, best practices, and all these different things. It has to be on a case-by-case basis. Now, having more information does not necessarily mean that you could do the job better, because I know that's where it's going to go.
Yeah,
I know that's the direction, right? But
and I like that space you took it. It has to be on a case-by-case basis, and we're definitely going to trash that out more.
Right.
As soon as we come back from this break. So ponder upon that, guys. Equality and equity. What's your position?
I said, look, I cannot help how I feel. Out of all of us, I'm the only one who isn't married, engaged, or has a child. Besides, you know, keep sticking out. I'll be real cool watching this while I meet you know.
Like I could use all the help, Smalley.
No, I could.
I could see that. But we all could use our help.
This is another episode of Life Matters, and I am your host, Latina Matter. Give us some insight into what is Miss Earth and what is so special about this pageant.
Okay, so like many pageants, there are a purpose behind the crown. So Miss Earth in particular, it's all about the awareness of the environment, and I'm basically an ambassador informing everyone to take care of their environment and their surroundings.
Take this moment, guys, to advocate the importance of mental health awareness, ensuring that this is something that is started to be placed in schools and in school curriculums.
Yes.
Why aren't we having easy therapy access to schools, to parents, to the children? You know, that is something that we need to get some hands written about, right?
Buenos días and welcome to the Emily Mais Talk Show. My name is Emily Mais. Tell me a little bit about your life in Venezuela.
They are more Trini than any Trinidadian.
You can see the effort of the Trinitarian people to learn Spanish too. They try to tell me something and listen, hola, whatever. They try to communicate in Spanish and they feel proud when they get it, like, hey.
People have to try more to learn the language.
Tell me about the food. How was your experience with the food in Trinidad?
So we go back to...
You take it.
Welcome back, guys, to Sunset, the evening show. And we're talking about this really large international topic that affects everyone, equity and equality. So when we left off, we spoke about, okay, It's a scenario where you have the person who is entrenched in an organization for quite a while. They know the ins and outs. They have the steeped experience. Maybe a little lesser education than somebody who's now coming off of college. And Jevon was asking, how does equity and equality work in that scenario, right? Because this newcomer now is coming with the best practices, the most relevant information. And you have an older person, Carla, who, yes, has the experience in the company, but doesn't know the best practice. How do you tell with that? What's your opinion on that?
But my question is why? If I am working in a company for 30, 40, 50 years, basically my whole life, right? Why hasn't the company funded my education to keep me abreast of the different technologies, the upgrades, and all those different things? I have been working in a position and offering, as far as I am concerned, my best knowledge and my best experience, when really and truly, industry-wise, it's substandard service that I'm giving. The company needs to understand we're all living in a world where technology is advancing and we'll all learn different things. Why isn't the company investing in their staff to learn and not wait to bring in quote-unquote fresh blood to now try to take over somebody who has been living there and giving their whole life?
So this is a totally different spin now on.
And I would love to answer that.
Oh yeah, I'm bringing it to you. It's a totally different spin from where we started off, and I like where it's going. Because now we're going from the dynamic of, okay, I have the experience, I have the most updated knowledge with best practice. How should we be treated? Now Carla has introduced a third person in this scenario in terms of the company. And what was their role for ensuring that you did not become a dinosaur after working for me for years? So take it from there, Jevon.
So I will talk on how I said. So let me speak on behalf of being a company owner. And I will talk plain. Why am I going to spend money to educate you that I have to pay you more because of the education I paid for you to get? So let me ask this next question. Why you as the employee, knowing that you're in a position where you are being not adequately compensated for, but know that if it is you gain the particular qualifications you could be compensated for, why you as the individual not seeking your own interests?
But what if I don't know? What if I am the individual and I don't know?
That was my question.
I am dedicated to you. I'm working for you day in, day out, giving you what it is I think you need, what I think the company needs, and then one day I see some young chap walking in, and you're telling me this is the person hired to go above me because they have X, Y, and Z, and at no point in time I knew X, Y, and Z was required. Because when we communicate, I think I'm ticking off the boxes. I think I'm your best employee. So I'm asking, what's your responsibility as a person that I've dedicated 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, extra time, losing family life and so much things to make sure you grow, to make sure your bottom line is expanded, to ensure that your pockets are fat, so to speak.
Right.
And I am penalized for arrogance.
Let me be the devil's advocate. You want to hear my answer for that?
I want to.
My responsibility is making sure my bottom line is good. Your responsibility is making sure that you feel that you are expert in, you are qualified to do it. You being qualified is not my responsibility.
Right. But you hired me. So I am qualified as far as I think.
But how fat is your bottom line if you now need to hire new people?
Well, again, what is the reason now that I have to hire somebody?
This is my question. So you, as the employer, knew that there was a gap that needed to be filled. A gap that you could have advised the person who has dedicated their life to, to you. You could have advised them of this gap. But the money that you tried to save from paying for this person's education to fill that gap, you are now paying a new person that this old person now has to train. Then you're not really saving money, right?
And you see,
well, technically, yes.
Add to that, Carla, before you jump back on Jevon, what you also lose there is trust. Because, and persons who are experienced in business over that 60, 70-year period in age, they will tell you, one of the most important things in terms of why they keep people, why they hire them is trust. When I have worked for you, and I have not scammed you, I have not robbed you. I have been dedicated to come to work. I don't get depressed and want mental days. I'm just showing you some. I don't call you and say, me and the boyfriend just broke up. I can't come in today. My children are already grown, so I don't have to go through that birthing process. You have all that convenience. What is the opportunity cost now in terms of not training me and getting the full length of time you can get from me and just bringing in somebody new? So there are factors. So what I'm saying here now is maybe, Jevon, there is a consequence to not being equitable and giving that present employee the opportunity to advance.
And Randolph, I hear you, but here's the thing. Like I say, I'm going to continue to be devil's advocate, right? From my experience, most employees don't think like that. You know what most employers think like? I got you to give me 30 years of your life because of something that I could simply write off. That is not my fault. I can get rid of you. I don't have to give you a pension package. I'm not accountable, right? And I can bring somebody in new, right? Start them from the bottom, right? And then let them build the way.
Of course.
So basically, at the end of the day, it is just,
you would be worth
and unfortunately, it sounds terrible, but this is the way a lot of these people think.
Right.
But at the expense of the company's reputation, really? When somebody came in 30 years ago, chances are they were not that educated because education was not a big thing.
Right, yeah.
30 years
Totally
ago.
correct.
There were no degrees and all of these types of things.
I would say they were not qualified, not educated. Some
Sorry.
of these people are extremely educated. They were
My
not
mistake,
qualified.
yes. The company's reputation. Really?
What I would say, this is Carla, right? We know that there's a particular type of company we're speaking about, right? How much of these CEOs or the directors of these companies actually spend time within the companies? There are people from the outside, they don't care. At the end of the day, they are brought in just to do what they do. Make sure their bottom line reaches a certain point.
Of course, but I think we have had a lot of transformation in recent times. And that's why there is a big trust and push locally and in a big way internationally for this equality and equity in the workplace. There are policies being brought on board to avoid a specific thing because there is a correlation. There are countless studies that show the correlation between happy employees and productivity.
Yes.
So, yes, I might save this month, I might save this year, but as Carla said, the long-term reputation of the company now gets affected. And if that gets affected, it means now my ability to provide for the next set of generations who will take over this company won't happen. Right? But I want to pivot now and carry this conversation to a different direction. So we know what the past has been and what is present in some companies as well. But now we have a situation where there is a heavy thrust for equality and making sure that people are treated correct. And I don't want to sound biased, but I want to talk about the issue. And a lot of it is heavily lopsided for women. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carla. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, but I want to talk about the issue in terms of, okay, and I agree, women are the homemakers. They have kids to see about. So, of course, night shifts aren't the best thing sometimes. But it also means at the same time that we have a bunch of men taking up night shifts, right? I agree that there are different capabilities of a woman to a man. So that's why we have over 90% who work on the railway, who work as mechanics, who work as plumbers, who work as electricians, these type of jobs that women don't want. But we're seeing now that it's equity. I've read where some companies are introducing mental health days for the women in the company. So the women take a half day and they get to go out and the men stay and run the plant. I've read that now some of them in certain companies are getting overtime to make up their KPIs that they missed on that half day. In addition to that, now they have access to persons they could talk to when they feel prejudice in the workplace, and I'm happy with all of it. But I want us to chat for a bit on the impact that's having on men. Because now, I once was the provider, now it's split between both of us. I no longer have that role anymore. I can't take breastfeeding from you. I can't take that nurturing that you will always have with our child. So I don't have that anymore now. I don't have the workplace, I don't have that. And on top of it now, in the workplace, you have a bunch of things
advantages
advantages as opposed to me because you're a woman, and that makes it equitable. So I don't know if Carla is going to bite off my head here, but I definitely want to start with you to hear your views on it.
I hear everything that you're saying, and I mean, for a very long time, women, people of color, they have been oppressed, and you know, and I like the direction that we have been going with in terms of equality, right? In terms of equity now, I honestly, I did not know about taking the mental health day specifically for women. I actually thought that was across the board, to be honest. I think there's a point that I mean, I want to be as diplomatic as possible, right? There is a boundary that you cannot cross. Yes, there are certain things that women would be able to do that men can't do, and vice versa. But it has to be on a case-by-case basis. You cannot just say because you are a woman that you are deserving of this and you should demand these things. Yes, we have children to raise, but maybe men need to help with the home care as well, and they should not be penalized because they are not able to birth, but they can still take care of children, right? So I feel like there needs to be some sort of equality there.
Yeah, because then we will go from one extreme to the next.
Exactly.
Jeff, only imagine a scenario, right? That, and I'm just using Carla as an example. Carla has a daughter. You are a hardworking man with one woman. I'm providing the context, and you have 7 children. But you have the night shifts, and she gets the day job consistently. She has 1 daughter, you have 7.
Exactly.
Think about the effect. And I'm asking the question now, in as much as, yes, we want to correct the wrongs of the past, are we being too radical and just jumping from one side straight to the next side and not...
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moment.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why you pursue that in the first place.
There's this crazy story at the beginning of the Bible. We have Adam and Eve, and they're in the Garden of Eden.
And everything in this garden is great. It's exactly as it should be, except there's this one tree that they're told by God not to eat from because it's dangerous and it will kill them.
So that's it. Avoid this fruit tree and we're fine.
Right. It seems pretty simple. But in this garden, there's a snake. And it starts telling a different story. It says that if you eat of this tree, it's not going to kill you. In fact, it's going to make you become like God.
And Adam and Eve, they believe the snake and they eat the fruit.
And because of this, the goodness of the garden is tragically lost, and evil and death enters into God's good world.
Hey, this is Tim.
And this is John.
We think one of the best ways to understand the Bible is to trace the key themes from its beginning all the way through to the end.
We also make videos that walk through the literary structure of every book of the Bible and how it relates to the whole.
JoinTheBibleProject.com.
What are some of the fun ways you spend time with your family?
Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind.
Just wraps it up nicely with God, nothing is wasted.
When we let go of this obsession of who we think we are, that's when we can really embody unconditional love.
Buenos dias and welcome to the Emily Mais Talk Show. My name is Emily Mais. Tell me a little bit about your life in Venezuela.
I am more Trini than any Trinidadian.
You can see the effort of the Trinitarian people to learn Spanish too. They try to tell me something and listen, hola, whatever. They try to communicate in Spanish and they feel proud when they get it, like, hey.
People have to try more to learn the language.
Tell me about the food. How was your experience with the food in Trinidad?
Welcome back to Sunset, guys, and our hot topic right now is equality and equity. Just before we went to break, where we were discussing a scenario where we could possibly be jumping from one extreme to the next. Earlier in the segment, we discussed that scenario where the 30-year-old employee in the company working for that length of time gets replaced by the qualified person who's a bit cheaper. But now it's a scenario where we're pushing that equity agenda in a big way, and it's lopsided to women. They have a lot of benefits. So the scenario we left off with was, if it is we have Carla, mother of 1 daughter, and Jevon working in the same company, father of 7 children. But because Carla is a woman, Carla gets no night shifts. Jevon has to take the night shifts. Is that really equity? And are we so hyper about getting from one side to the next that we're not thinking about the fallout?
I would like to believe so. For example, let me speak about me being able to be a part of my children's life.
Yeah.
And I like to say children's, right? I mean, yes, motherhood is deemed, I would like to say, significantly more important than fatherhood. It is deemed that way because mothers are natural,
they have it naturally.
They have it naturally, you know. They are caregivers and stuff like that, right? And you see, the whole negative side about it is that by me only having to work night shifts, I'm going to be now stigmatized as not being there.
Yeah.
Because I have to work any night, and then when in the daytime when I'm home, I'm tired. And I'm being chastised for being tired. So where is the equality?
And imagine if you're making such a good enough salary that you have mommy at home to see about them because 7 kids need their mommy, yeah? You can imagine how much worse that will become now.
Yeah, because now I'm going to, and let me not cut you, I'm going to speak about now having a woman home who's going to be on my back because she's not going to understand the stress that I will have to deal with, and going to add stress because she's going to feel like she's not getting any help.
Yeah. So now that begs the question, I'm bringing this across to you. In as much as we have policymakers, and this is an HR role, right? Are calculations being done, analysis, risk assessment being done in applying these policies? Because yes, I agree fully that in certain scenarios we want women out in the work world. I'm all for it, right? And there are certain things we have to give them so that they can be engaged in the work world and have that equal opportunity and that kind of thing. But are we calculating the risks associated with it when making these policies on if we go too far?
I don't think that. I think the basis on what we're making these decisions on are flawed. I think that's the easiest way to say it. Not because I am a woman, I should have, what's the word I'm looking for? Not because I'm a female means that I should be given certain leeways and I should be, you know, I'm trying to find the words so that it makes sense. I want to use the word privileges, but in a sense, I do deserve some privileges as a female, right? Going back to the scenario with the 7 children versus the 1, right? The 1 child that I have doesn't necessarily mean that that 1 child is less important than the 7 children.
Course, yeah.
And obviously, if it's a newborn versus 7 older children, obviously the newborn would need more of my attention than the 7 older children. So it definitely has to be on a case-by-case basis. I've been in situations where I have been in managerial positions, supervisory positions, where women would say, you know, it's that time of the month and therefore they're in pain or they're in, and you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. But there are some women who would use that to try to get a day off. That's not fair. That's not right. Right? So I can see where HR definitely needs to get involved and treat these things. It cannot be a blanket way of dealing with things. You have to treat these things on a case-by-case basis. What is the situation of me, a woman with no children, and need to take a mental health day versus a man with 4 children that may need a mental health day?
And may not even say it.
And may not even say it because he may look weak or whatever it is society deems him to be. That's not fair because I'm a woman with no children and I deserve it more than a man. It definitely has to be on a case-by-case basis. We are making these decisions on information that is completely flawed or antiquated, as far as I see.
Or very prompt as well. When I say prompt, because something is a trend right now, and you as a company don't want to have a PR disaster or be associated with a scenario where you're not supporting a key group of your customers, sometimes that allows rash decisions. I think that's a big part of it.
It is.
Sometimes that makes rash decisions. And these rash decisions now have consequences. So as a business owner or a manager or a leader, we have to bring risk calculations in these things. It can't just be an assessment on one group. Because yes, we spoke about women and men here, but there is a conversation about able versus disabled, exceptional versus persons who operate normally, having somebody autistic in the workplace, or these kind of things, and this conversation can go so far. I think the main point here is that in establishing equality and equity within the workplace, risk assessments have to be involved. We have to do it based on the correct information, as Carla said, and we have to bring in other factors. other factors and analyze it and make sure your workers are happy. Because if your overall population is not happy and we're just trying to make sure it's equitable for a certain group, then is that equality? That's not equality.
Exactly.
That is us trying to dot some I's and cross some T's to make sure we don't look bad, for want of a better phrase.
Exactly.
So where do we go from here in terms of wrapping up this topic?
Well, what I would like to say in a case like this is where proper HR management comes in.
Yeah.
That is where HR comes in. And I totally I promote any middle or large scale company, right, to hire somebody. And their sole purpose should be based on that. For smaller companies, I would tell you, I would advise you, get educated. There are numbers you can call and ask for advice. There are the standards when it comes to certain things. There are the labor board that you could call into and get certain information. And I think this is where their expertise will come in, being able to bridge that gap. Yeah.
Carla?
I totally agree. Human resources definitely needs to get more involved. I have found that in a lot of corporate companies, they tend to not want to see the whole picture as it pertains to the employees versus the employers, but it really should not be a versus situation. It's like, what is the best thing for all persons involved? Maintaining the company's reputation with the public and with their employees, and how can the employees be treated fairly, and there's no discord, no strife, no animosity. We don't want that, right? We want a peaceful existence in our workplace. So definitely HR definitely needs to step up and get involved, get educated, as Jevon said, and really listen to what is said and what is unsaid when it comes to employees.
Yeah. For me, I would say equity has different rules for different people, because we went through a lot of conversation here today. We spoke about our first scenario with the older person, younger person coming in more qualified. And it came out that equity there had a role for the owner. You have to be equitable to all the employees to give them chance to advance themselves and to grow as the company grows, because this is the bottom line. This is your foundation that has excelled you to that growth. So you have a role and a responsibility to them. I agree with Jevon as well. You as an employee have a role and a responsibility to be equitable to yourself, to make sure that you are in the know, that you are present, that you are up to date with what's going on in your industry and what you need. As the person coming in as a newbie, there's a responsibility and a role on you now to understand that things existed before you. And individually now, if I understand what the nature of equity is, I have to have respect and consideration for that. And that spills over now into the person who doesn't have training, the woman who doesn't have training, like Carla said, and wants a mental day over the guy who has 4 children and might need it more. You have to be equitable as an individual employee, to be fair to others, to be fair to yourself and your upward mobility. The owners now also have to be equitable to give employees opportunities. And finally, now we have to make sure when we're putting out policies out there, that these policies cover our entire employee base.
Yes.
Because everybody works. And if everybody cannot come together like pieces of a puzzle, we're always going to have a risk of low productivity. Because if I satisfy this group, and when they're satisfied, this other group on this side starts to malfunction, and I run across to try and satisfy this group, I'm going to be bouncing off walls. And then that policy itself, that HR policy itself, it's not doing what it should do. Yeah? Any final comments, guys? On today's shows and these kind of hot topics we spoke about?
Well, let's go back to the scamming.
Yeah.
I said it before, I'm going to reiterate. People, if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. There's no way to get rich, even if it is your rub and teeth in, there's no way to get rich. And know that there always comes circumstances with these decisions. They always have something that they're not telling you. be wise, be cautious. Right? That's all I'm going to say on that.
Well, since we're back to the online scamming, I just feel like there are no such thing as get rich quick, right? No matter how they try to sell it to you online, on television, in the media, there's no such thing. And yes, it may be true that back in the day, you know, your parents and your grandparents, they were able to buy a house for $5, and it's not like that today. But at the same time, don't get so caught up in trying to keep up, right? Don't get so caught up in the dream of things that you don't pay attention to what's right in front of you. Yeah, so that's all.
So be happy to be you. Be happy to go at your pace.
Exactly.
Yeah, with that online scamming, be happy to go at your pace. It will come eventually.
It will.
Yeah, and guys, I want to give you some gentle reminders. We're here Monday to Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. live. You can see the reruns at 11 p.m. nightly and 12 midday the next day. We are sunset. Join us every single day, Monday to Friday, and we'll see you just after the short break.
Buenos días and welcome to the Emily Mais Talk Show. My name is Emily Mais. Tell me a little bit about your life in Venezuela.
I am more Trini than any Trinidadian.
You can see the effort of the Trinitarian people to learn Spanish too. They try to tell me something at least, hola, whatever. They try to communicate in Spanish and they feel proud when they get it, like, hey.
People have to try more to learn the language.
Tell me about the food. How was your experience with the food in Trinidad?
What are some of the fun ways you spend time with your family?
Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind.
Just wraps it up nicely with God, nothing is wasted.
When we let go of this obsession of who we think we are, that's when we can really embody unconditional love.
My name is Jesse McBarrow, and you are looking at Mending Minds. Tell us your Mending Mind moments.
I will say set goals.
A lot of people get so caught up in the what, they forget the why. There's this fixation of this is what I'm going to do, and they forget why. Yeah. You know, you pursue that in the first place.
Welcome back to Plus, guys. Sunset, the evening show. You're here with Randolph, Jevon, and Carla. We've had such a pleasure spending this evening with you.
As always.
Yeah, and we spoke about so much things with that online scamming thing, but we also spoke about equality and equity, guys. Give me some final points for our viewing audience before we depart.
Be fair to your fellow workers, be fair to each other. To business owners, the same way you expect loyalty from your employees, you also need to be loyal to your employees.
Let me shake your hand. Let me shake your hand. I like hearing that from you.
Yeah, and all in all, be willing to work with each other. At the end of the day, it's not one hand that's clap, and life goes on. Yeah.
According to somebody, one hand slaps, it doesn't clap.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's good. I like that. I would just say definitely HR definitely step up. It's called human resources for a reason, and definitely keep all the humans in mind, employees as well as employers. Your company's reputation is important. Managing your company's reputation, how they look, how employees think about you, even in terms of retaining the right type of people that work for your business, that work for your company. Keeping yourself and your image above board is really going to attract more of the right people to you. So, as Jevon said, you know, be mindful, treat your employees well, treat your employers well, and make sure that everybody is happy and comfortable.
Yeah, and for me, I endorse all of that, but I want us to understand as well, even though this has been a topic of conversation for decades now, I think in terms of the rollout, it is something relatively new. And in as much as we want vigor and we want to get it done quickly, we have to take the time to roll it out correctly, to make sure at all points in time that all players fall under your policy and they're taken care of. Do proper risk analysis for everything that you do, especially with this, because this is a sensitive topic. It deals with the heart, it deals with the emotions.